So for this lesson, we will talk about composition again, but I want to give you some more ideas about the composition, and not because I want to. So the intent is not to push you to create something complex. Quite the opposite. Trying to find something very simple, and then you can work little by little to create something more complex and better for you. So in one of the lesson I was a part as a student, and I do agree with him. The teacher said you can be the greatest theorist of something, but if you don't try, if you don't put everything on the ground and you start to make a shape from what you studied, you simply did nothing. And so we had 3 lessons already, from the sound to the basic of the composition. And for the next lesson, I will ask you to create just a song from the beginning to the end. But trust me, it could be incredibly easy, or at least you will learn something from different kind of music. I prepared a list of I don't know how many songs they are, but there are 3 classic rock song, 3 other from contemporary pop, then electronic pop dance, alternative rock and metal, something from minimalism in the electronic music or contemporary classical music, some other example of contemporary classical music, and so on. I want to give you, maybe you already know them, or at least the pop song. They are very, very famous, so probably you know them. But in the I also want to give you some boundary in order to let you free to move inside of the boundaries. In one of the past lessons, I gave you an example about the Suzuki Music School, or what I also did in music therapy. That is, if you ask a kid to play on a keyboard, the kid will move from the beginning to the end of the keyboard, playing as much keys as he can. But this could sound like a cat on a keyboard, so nothing special, or even something that is not nice at all. But if I give him a boundary, and so I put some red tape just to close 1 octave, probably the kid will start to move on this small space, and they will be able to play after a while a nice melody, and maybe a variation on that melody. But if I have too many ingredients, maybe I don't know from what to start. Okay? And we already talked about a structure with a sort of intro, a verse, a chorus, a refrain, a bridge, or something like that, or a special. Okay, we already talked about this stuff in the past lesson. But it was also important to me to give you a chance to take some songs and to listen to them with this purpose. So the first song, let me check, is from the Beatles, Let It Be. Okay, So this song has intro, verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, outro. Okay, so it's quite complex in a way, but from every title you will have the structure and the link to go on YouTube to watch it. Okay. I have to be honest, I didn't check exactly the structure of every song. I tried to ask ChatGPT to do this job for myself. So, even because otherwise this would have been even too complex for myself. But anyway, I asked for specific questions and specific kind of music in order to have the biggest variety in several genres of music. So as I said, there is some classical pop, but even rock music and even classical music. So you can see several kind of structures. You will see that many of them have quite the same structure. They can change just a bit. So this is a sort of boundary, because this boundary tells us that I have to make it simple. And so at the beginning I can create an introduction, a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, and then the outro, or just verse, chorus, and that's it. Okay, we can keep it very, very simple. But since we also need to know that we have to create varieties like introduction and so on, sometimes we are stuck thinking about what can I do? Because I have maybe 3, 4 rhythms, 6 rhythms, but no one is good for an introduction maybe. Or I'm not able to move from a verse to a chorus to a refrain and something like that and go back to the beginning. So some of them are in the list. Just to tell you, there are several ways of making music, and you can choose your own. Sometimes the introduction can also be made without the didgeridoo at all. Okay, so if I have some sounds that I can also play at the beginning, I can record the voices, or if you have partners, you can do it with your partners or friends. Okay, but I will show you some example. I will tell you much better the example at the end. I will only show you and I will only make you listening just one song. The list will be in the info box of this lesson. Just down the video on YouTube, so you can go there and you will have all the song with a very short description, because I had to stay in 5,000 characters, and so I had to make it very, very short. But anyway, you have lots of information anyway. But I want to give you an example from the jazz music. In my opinion, the jazz music is something incredibly good to learn why we can start from simple things, and this is okay. I will make you listening a song that is called Autumn Leaves. That is a very famous jazz song that is used for teaching saxophone, trumpet, guitar to jazz musicians. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so it's very simple. It has very few keynotes. I share my screen with you, and I also let you see. So this is the song. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Um, the first time you will listen this song in three different versions. The student version, an intermediate musician version, and an advanced player version. Okay. Okay, so one of I showed you this song because of many reasons, but one is, even if the song is still the same, every time that is played from by another player, this song has a different shape, has different colors, has a different, not meaning, but anyway, the interpretation of the artist is not just changing few details, but sometimes they change it radically. But it still is the same song, because the most important key notes are played always in the same position, giving you the feeling of listening the same song. So since this song is quite famous, every time you listen this song played by a different musician, you can recognize how much the player, the musician, is putting his own art while playing this song. And this also is an important answer to those they say, I don't write down so many paper of didgeridoo rhythms, but sometimes I did it. and not so often, but sometimes people complain because they say, yeah, but even if you write down your rhythms, they will be different if someone else is playing your rhythm. Yeah, it's true. But for jazz music, it is the same. So the only music where the music is played always in the same way is classical music, because it was made in the past in a way, and we still play that music like the composer want to have that music. But in all the other cases, it is not. We also have some classical music played with electric guitar, for example. It's another story, but in a way, we are using modern instruments for playing classical music in recent times. So probably the classical music played with the electric guitar sounds now like the classical music was made when we had the clavicembalo, that is a sort of ancient piano. Okay, so changing the time, you change also the instrument. So as a sort, I don't know if the word is correct, but a sort of actualization, or it's a sort of remake to make old music listening how that music was composed. But this is another story. From us, one important thing is, if they do so in jazz music, we can also do with our own music. And so I, in the last lesson, I think you remember, I told you how to remind rhythms. So just recording the rhythms on WhatsApp. Maybe in the future you can also record the entire song. But when I have to record the entire song, I can use the introduction, a chorus, a verse, and so on. And I can record it as simple as I can. Like if it is just the lines where I have to write in the next weeks, in the next month, in the next years, more embellishments. So imagine what the player did with Autumn Leaves. The player was still the same. In the three versions was the same. He played it once, simply straight, like it was written on the paper, or closely how it was written on the paper. Then he added some embellishment, and then even more. And we can do the same. So don't have fear to say, to write down your music or to record your music, because that is just the starting point. Okay? For example, when I was very young, I recorded a song and I didn't have a title for that, and I called it, I don't know if it was Improvisation 1 or Improvisation 2. A very simple title, okay? Then that song, year later, became dynamic. It is still the same. It is still the same, but the structure is much better. I was even more precise in the year later. I didn't change so much, but I changed it enough to listen to something quite completely different. You know, you can recognize that the song is the same. But when I was too young, only 2 years old playing, I was not so precise. Sometimes that song was so nice to me that I wanted to fit together different kind of rhythms, and I did it, but it was even too complex for me at that time. I don't care at all that that song, even if it is not well recorded, not well played, it is on Spotify. Okay. So maybe I know I can't add comments on private videos, but I can also send you the links of the first version and the second version recorded years later. Okay, so
Yeah.
be very, how to say, generous with yourself. Be very kind with yourself. Don't be too severe with you and with your music, or not so much to be stuck avoiding recording stuff. Okay, it's not a kid. Your music, it's not a kid. If you make a child, yeah, you have to make it good, because otherwise you can't change it. Okay, but if you make your own music and something is not so good, you can change it. Also painters, they made some painters, and they did it again and again and again till it was good. But with music, it's even easier, because as soon as you finish to play that song, if you want to listen to it, you have to play it again, and you can make all the changes you want. So don't be afraid to make mistake or to say, yeah, maybe this song is too simple. Yeah, it's really simple, like it was ba 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 ba. So this is really simple. They are just 4 notes, 4, and it is one of the most important songs in jazz music. Very famous. This song also give us some ideas, like ba 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 ba. So it's the same short phrase that is repeated 2 times with a small changing. So we don't have to create something too complex. When we want to create a composition, sometimes we exceed in making too complex rhythms all together with too many variations. The more complex it is, the less easy is to listen to it. Okay. I don't know how to translate it in English, but it is called complessità formale, formal complexity. I don't know if it's correct how to say, but anyway, you can have very simple song like Autumn Leaves, and if you want, in the next week you can add some embellishments, for example. But don't start with rhythms they change too much every single phrase, because otherwise will be too difficult to remind for you, but especially for the audience. The first song you find in the list, they are really simple to listen to them. I started with the Beatles. Beatles are extremely easy to sing. Okay, if you have to remind something from the contemporary classical music, for example, where they use lots of keynotes and changing always the key of the tuning of the entire song, yeah, that is really complex, and to remind or to sing them is pretty impossible. This is also why I prefer to show you something with a melodic instrument, because with the melodic instrument it's easier to recognize the entire phrase the repetition and the variation on the phrases. I can sing it. It's not so simple to do the same with a didgeridoo rhythm. And also because it's not so common to find players they have introduction, chorus, verse, and so on. Maybe they have them, but very often they are confused, and there is not a good frame where you can find all of these parts. Okay, so with jazz music it is easier because they are always made in the same way. I showed you the paper, and I would like also to. Okay, anyway, you have a phrase that is repeated 4 times, and then you start again from the beginning, and then the song is pretty finished till we have the part of the improvisation where 1, 2, or 3 musicians, one by one, they have their own part of improvisation. But then you go back to the main theme. This also means that you don't have to write a so long song, because the number of beats of a song, yeah, it's long, but because we have some repetition, and the repetition are not so bad if they are put in a good way. So if I repeat for 5 minutes the same rhythm, ton taka ton taka ton taka ton taka ton taka ton taka ton, yeah, something like this is boring for you and for the audience. But if I do something, if I play ba 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 ba, then I continue. I have a sort of improvisation. After the improvisation of the sax player or the drummer, I go back to da 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 da. The audience usually start to sing it with you, because this sort of repetition was something like I give you something, I give you something again with small differences, and so they are learning the song together with you playing. So the introduction is something to go somewhere else, and then usually you have a call like pa 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 da 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 da. So the audience is feel that something is changing, and probably they are going in a completely different direction, and by coincidence they start again from the beginning. Okay, so think also this kind of structure or this kind of technique to go closer to what the audience think about music. Okay, this is really important. Okay, everything is clear till right now. Okay, the list of songs is, as I said at the beginning of this lesson, is done for 2 main reasons. One is to give you some songs that you already know, to listen to them and to try to understand where the song changed from verses to chorus and so on, how the introduction are made. So you have about, or I think more than 20 different introductions. Even if they are made with different instruments, you can find different way, different solution, different tastes of introductions. Just having an introduction and the main theme, and that's it. It's anyway a very simple structure, but at least we have a structure. And it is anyway better than have no structure at all. Okay. I would like to also that you spend time to listen when we have a change from the verse to the chorus and vice versa, if there is a sort of call, because the musician know pretty well their song if they play it on stage. If they are in a studio, they also have a paper in front of them probably, so they don't need to have a call. In African drums, usually they have a call because they maybe play for a long time, and when they want to change a rhythm, they give a call and they change rhythm when they want, because the structure can be shorter or longer as they want. But the call or something similar in pop music is important, just to say, okay, this was the verse, but now pay attention, 3, 2, 1, and we go to the chorus. Okay. Or anyway, I want to tell you, pay attention, something is changing right now. Okay. So this is for the first part. I also added some contemporary classical music, and I did it because this give you more idea about a completely different way to make compositions. They can be also without a specific timing, without a specific composition. The structure can be completely smashed and destroyed. It's nice because even if it is the highest level of music in a way, they can sound like a kid who is playing with his toys. And it's important because even if the classical contemporary music completely destroyed the classical music, so till a specific period, maybe the half of the last century, so till 1950, we still had classical music. Then the contemporary classical music completely destroyed the vision of music with hard rules that they have to be followed by composers and musicians. They started to think about improvisation, and they started to say the improvisation does not exist at all. And so it's a completely different culture and different way of making music. Just to tell you some name anyway from pop rock, we have the Beatles with Let It Be, the Queen with We Will Rock You, Nirvana with Smell Like Teen Spirit, Adele with Rolling in the Deep. So they are songs that you know, absolutely you know. And with the classical, the contemporary classical music, we have Steve Reich with clapping music. I knew that song and that composition, and so I decided to take 2 videos of them. One, to see how the music was written. So you have just the note or the silence, and you have just 2 chances, or clap or not clap. And maybe faster. stuff like that. Imagine if you have 5 players, they do this stuff, but with different rhythms. Okay, so a second video is with 5 performers. They use their body and hands and foot for playing this kind of composition, and they look much better. Okay, so from the theory to the performance, okay, it's really nice. Just to say, you also have your hands and you can clap, or you can use other kind of tools, instrument, objects you have in your house that can add very small details. Imagine if you record your song and then you add some small details in a specific point, and in a specific point you can add a sound that is maybe the voice of your animal, or the ringing at the door, or some tools in your kitchen, or the door, or anything you like. And this can be a call for a change. Okay. Another composer is Terry Riley with In C. The previous song was composed in 1972. Terry Riley in C. I choose a composition with very short phrases, rhythmical phrases. They were written on papers, and any musician could take some of them, and they started to play all together. So imagine people, they are talking about, or just a paper with several lines, and people start to read all together some lines. The same, but with music. And this was also nice because this particular performance was with percussionist of musical instrument from Africa, with kora and other drums. Okay, this is also nice as idea. So even in this case, the structure is not anymore like the structures we have seen before. So if we go to the pop music, we go to the music that is usually typical on radio stations, so more common for the people, and so it's easier to get close to them. But you have your own idea of music, and you can make your own music. So I also want to give you different way of making music. The difference between making a composition with intro, chorus, verse, and so on is because we get used to do so. If we create just a sort of smashed music with something that looks similar from the beginning to the end because we want to make it, it's a thing. But if we do so because we are not able to do anything different from it, yeah, I think it's not good at all, because we get bored. On the other hand, if we like to make very long sound, very long rhythm, very long song, I can even quote the Naturton duo from Switzerland with Billy Grimm at Didgeridoo. They also recorded songs. They sound quite the same with very small variation from the beginning to the end. For songs, they were 27 minutes long. I would never play a song so long. It's not my taste. It's really not my taste. But it is important. And so I also can quote him because he is one who make that kind of music for that purpose. And especially if I have no changing or very small details, they change from time to time, that is suitable for the ambient music, I also have to make very long song. But from my point of view, if I try to make so on the stage, I risk to get bored after 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I won't play with the same effort, with the same energy, with the same passion because I risk to get myself bored. But there are different musicians, and there are different kind of audience during the concert. So anything is good. Just you have to be honest with yourself. If you do something that sounds too simple, you have to have some experience and some knowledge about other kind of music. They do so, because you can find some details that are important for you and for the audience. Okay. Another funny song is do you know John Cage? Okay, John Cage was a composer from US, and he also came to Italy to play in a TV program. I didn't find the Italian version, but anyway, I found a version of his famous song, famous for who knows John Cage, and the song is called "The Water Walk." And it was composed or recorded in 1959, and you will see the introducer in the TV show. He asked him why this song is called "The Water Walk," and he said, "Because when I play this song, there is some water, and because I walk." That's it. Okay, and in this song, he plays a grand piano, water, pots, electric grinders, 3 radios, and a plastic duck, and some other things. Okay, he wrote the paper, he wrote the music, and he knew that I had to play any single instrument, tool, or everything at the specific time, and so he walked around with a watch. So everything was made exactly in time when he wanted to. I don't want to tell you more about that. It's really funny. Look at the reaction of the audience, because it was in a TV show, and yeah, it's really funny. Think about that. You can also take some small ideas from it. Maybe not so strange like he did, because I don't want to ruin the surprise you can have watching that video. But you can think about any sound is particular, and so you can use it. Okay. John Cage also composed a song that is called 4 minutes 33, and it was 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. So I just tell you, I didn't write down the link for that song, but imagine the piano player arrived on stage, he sit down on a grand piano, he opened the paper, he opened the keyboard, he took the clock, and he simply started the timing, and then he waited for 4 minutes and 33. Then at the end, and sometimes he also moved the pages. Okay, and then at the end, he simply stopped the clock, he closed the keyboard, and the audience started to clap. Okay, there are several reasons because this song is famous, and one is, the most important I think, is the silence is anyway important like music. Another point is, imagine if you are in a concert, in a theater, obviously, and someone do so. People try to keep to keep silence, but anyway they can't. So someone cough, some other maybe are talking, and so on. So there is some music in there. Okay, just to give you another example. There is another song that sounded me quite nice. Didn't know it before, so I also asked ChatGPT to give me some other example following my idea of music, and he proposed Tristan Peric Surface Image that is very recent, 2013. It's a song for 40 electronic channels of piano, so it's quite a huge harmonic noise with keys. And then another one from John Cage. This is amazing. It's something that you would probably love. From John Cage's Sonata and Interludes for Prepared Piano, 1946-48. You can find several songs, because on any composer I gave you the name, you can find, for pop music they would be called cover music. But since the classical music is always performed by orchestras or great players, you can also find several versions of this prepared piano. I preferred to look for a video where you see how they prepared that piano. And there is a partiture. So on a paper, the composer wrote down maybe in the first C of the piano, at 15 centimeter from the hammer, you have to put a screw between the strings, and so on. So every string, the piano strings usually are 2 or 3 strings, so you can put the screws between the couple or the triplet of strings. Okay, so imagine if you have the strings, they are not able to vibrate. This sounds like a percussion. So the pianist read the paper as a musical notation of a melody, but when he plays, the effect is listening a sort of cheap drum. Okay, maybe with some repetitive patterns. And anyway, this is just an idea, just to give you some frames and some boundaries to make your loops of rhythms and variation, but also to give you a huge variety of sound and possibilities that you probably have in your pocket, because probably you have some nice sounds that you love from when you were a kid. Maybe you have a specific toy will make a noise or a sound that is nice for you and can be used for your own music. Just to say, okay guys, anyway, we are making music, we are serious students or players, but we also want to really to play. We have in Italy we say giocare, play, and suonare, that is play. They have a different meaning anyway. Suonare, so playing a musical instrument, is something high level, but playing a toy, it's usually considered less. Okay, in this case I would also say we can play music like if it is a toy. So we are also joking. we can be serious making nice music, but music can pass you several ideas, several feelings, several moods. I can make a song to make you laugh. I can make a song to make you cry. I can make a song to enjoy, to jump, to let you spend energy and so on. Okay, so just find your mood, and it's important to have boundaries for making structures, but then you are free to experiment and to put everything you like in your music, but everything. Okay. Yeah, I also added Stockhausen, who was one of the composers who was guilty to destroy classical music, and one of the first electronic music composition where he used the voice of a kid that was manipulated with electronic devices. Alvin Lucier, I'm sitting in a room, and this is also nice because it's just the voice of a man in a room, in a reverberating room, and after a while the voice simply goes down and down and down, and remain in the room only the reverb. So the voice is gone and you only have the reverb. Okay. And yeah, the last one is a song from 2019, and it is an album where the artist collaborates with the artificial intelligence. Okay, so you have many ideas. Okay, so doing so, I think you have more ideas for to have a good structure, and also you will have ideas from other composers. They really never had fear to make something strange. I didn't add another song that can be strange, that is called Poème symphonique, and it was performed in Holland, I think, in 1968, if I remember well. And if you think about Poème symphonique, you probably think about a huge orchestra and a nice voice who describe that is something romantic, probably, as a poème symphonique, and you can't guess what it was. It was a sort of orchestra with 100 metronomes. So you have 10 steps. In every step you have 10 metronomes. And imagine people, they go in a theater trying to get out and say, okay, we go and listen a poème symphonique. And they arrive there and the curtains open and they see and they see just 100 metronomes. And when I've seen the video, I said, my first question was, how can they play all together at once? And so they had just a string with a very simple robot that moved from one side to the other, just touching the tip of the stick of the metronomes. But the camera also showed that any metronome was on a different timing, a different speed. Okay, so when it started, it was just a mess of stuff like that. Okay. So you have no boundaries for your ideas. You have it's just better if you use structure to put your ideas in a space, because this is good for the audience to understand what you are playing. So for the next lesson, you can try to create your own proto song. Just you can use the structure you want. Can be very simple: introduction, main theme, or you can divide the song in smaller parts if you want. You can decide if you want to add other sounds on the top of it to create some details, but don't exceed in creating something too complex. Imagine that is your own autumn leaves. Pa, 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 pa. So if we work for a couple of lessons or a couple of months, adding new ideas on it, you could create a great song, better than most of the didgeridoo song you can find around. I'm pretty sure about that. If you just spend some time little by little to say, okay, I can improve this stuff, and also for the way of playing. So you create the structure, you play the rhythm, but little by little, playing the entire song instead of just playing the rhythm, it's better than just playing the rhythm. After a while, if you play the rhythm every time the same way for a long time, you risk to get bored and you stop. If you put the rhythm inside of a structure, so you have 2 or 3 rhythms and you change from one to the other, maybe a call from a pattern to another came out automatically. Maybe something sounds good. Say, okay, I can add maybe just the voice or a toot or a couple of toots, and then I change the rhythm. And so little by little, the music will increase, will be better, will have more details in just while practicing. So after 2 or 3 months, that song will be completely different from the beginning, or much better compared to the beginning. Okay. And last, but really last, you can also record the song, and you can also overdub some sounds that you like. I would avoid to use birds and wind, because there are too many songs with birds and water and wind. But it's up to you. It depends also what you want to do. So if it is something for a holistic field and stuff like that, yeah, I think that is a chance. On stage, I would avoid it. Okay. Do you have any question?
No, just interesting in the list of music. Get inspired, and just the way I look at it now is I will try to do the most simple composition. And as you already referred to, like, then get the simple basic in, like maybe this week or tomorrow, whatever, and then just start adding little by little, and try to digest the verse and the chorus sections of the songs, and then maybe see how I can implement it or translate it to my simple basic structure of like intro and some rhythm, and then start dividing, and small steps, I think.
Yeah.
And then see what happens.
Yeah, I think it was a quite long trip to arrive here, but I actually didn't know exactly the path I would have taken from the first lesson to right now, because I also wanted to follow your ideas. So in the next lesson we will have more exercises. But I'm really happy because if someone and other students will come in the next month and they need for this lesson, I'm really happy about the contents of them, because we started really from the sound and how to clean the sound till
We actually started from the noise.
yeah, we started from the noise. We started from the
make,
noise.
make a sound out of noise. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's good, especially for didgeridoo players. We usually don't use a paper to read and play music.
Yeah, that's one thing I like, but also, yeah, if you really want to make a song, there are a few, or less than few tools for it. But yeah, to make a song or composition, yeah, that's true.
And imagine as you finish your first song, and probably in the meantime, you really risk to find new patterns. They don't fit maybe too good with that composition, and so automatically you will start simultaneously a new song and a new song. And this is important because for example, last weekend I was in France for a workshop and a concert, and at the end of the concert, since many people were from the concert, and they were people from the association, so it was not a concert on a fancy structure. So the place were absolutely nice. I understood that in France they have Mediathek pretty everywhere, where you can find books, and in that case also great books from Australia, with just not the places of Australia, but you can find Yolngu people and traditional music and traditional instrument in a room. So that was absolutely nice, and it was possible to me to invite also the students on stage. So I played my concert and I asked them to play on stage, and this is quite risky, because if someone plays just one song instead of an entire concert, and he just play his best song, it's possible that he's better than the musician, because it is just one song. Okay, they also were very good. There are some videos, maybe they will be published on Facebook very soon. And some of them were very nice, and so I was really happy to invite them on stage. But the most important thing is to be able to have a repertoire, because the repertoire is fundamental to let the people listening to you for a longer time. If I have a nice song and the second song is nice the same, but also the structure and the rhythmical pattern and the composition and everything is quite the same as the previous one, yeah, sounds not so good. It's something like if you go in a wedding lunch, and for the first dish they serve you your favorite dish, and then they continue to serve you your favorite dish. After the third time you say stop.
Yeah.
Okay, so the variety is really important. Okay, and this is why I try to use different different style and different period of composition of the music, different kind of composers, different kind of instrument in this list. Not because you have to go so far from song to song, but mostly because I want to let you free to let you be free to use what you really like for your song, and to think that really you can find details, sounds, different kind of composition pretty everywhere. Okay?
Okay.
So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I did. And I will upload it in maybe tomorrow or in 2 days anyway. And I will send you the link of the lesson and all the list of all the songs. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And we will listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a
Let's
pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
very much to be here with me. And
Yeah.
we will go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye bye.
Good night.